What up, B Squad? It is your boy JB, and I am here today with a brand new review, you guys, for The Golden Bachelor on ABC. This is going to be season one, episode number three, you guys. And yeah, you guys, this was a pretty good episode, you guys. I have to say, I really enjoyed it. If you guys are joining this live in the live chat or in the comment section, please let me know what you guys thought about this episode. And with that, before we actually go ahead and get into it, you guys be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on your post notifications, share the video, you guys. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and discuss this episode of The Golden Bachelor on ABC, shall we? So once again, you guys, I will say that I am absolutely 100% enjoying The Golden Bachelor. So this week we are down to 12 ladies, right? And we're also in week number three. So I forget what the guy's name is who hosts it. I think his name is Jesse, right? So excuse me, y'all. Jesse came in to inform the ladies that there's going to be one romantic date this week with Gary, and then there's also going to be a group date with the ladies. And so, they're all wondering who's going to be going on the group date with Gary. So Jesse tells them that everyone is going to be going on the group date. So they're all happy. They also find out with the group date that is going to be a talent show. So they get to the talent show, and we see that the judges are Caitlin Bristow, Gary, as well as Jesse, right? So one of the ladies in particular, she was very nervous about doing the talent show, and it was Joan, because Joan doesn't feel like she has any talent. But like I said, we see all the other ladies they go through with doing it, and I think they all did a fantastic job. Leslie came out and she did some dancing for Gary. A lot of the ladies got up there and told jokes. Miss Sandra told some jokes. So like I said, a good chunk of the ladies came up there and did jokes, and I absolutely enjoyed it. Also, Miss Joan. So remember, I was telling you just a minute ago that Joan was very nervous about doing this. So Joan came up there and read a poem to Gary, right? And it was a poem of not throwing up on his shoes the first time that she met him. And I thought it was so sweet, and I really truly did like it. So there is one. So I'm gonna say this: like, I do like all the women on this show. One woman in particular, I see her wheels are spinning, and I think she's stirring the pot up a little bit. It is Kathy. I noticed it in like the first episode, I believe, that I thought Kathy was going to be a pot stirrer, and I was correct. Kathy is a pot stirrer, and it really surfaced in this week's episode. How are you doing today, Evita? So yeah, Kathy. Like I said, Kathy. I don't even remember what Kathy did in the talent show, but again, I like the talent show. I thought that the women did an amazing job. Even Miss Joan, who, like I said, was very nervous about even participating in the talent show. I, Miss Ellen, she got up there. I think Ellen was the first one who told jokes. It was one of them who was talking about the hoo ha is the V word, right? She was talking about sex education, and I thought it was cute and funny. I love the ladies. I think they're all excellent ladies. I enjoy them for sure. Um, Evita, you say you don't like Kathy. Okay. Um, if you feel like you want to go deeper in why you don't like Kathy, I think it's probably because of the mess. Kathy, I don't dislike Kathy. I see what Kathy's doing. Kathy was playing master manipulator when it came to what is her name? When it came down to Kathy and Teresa. I think she's just playing master manipulator, and it actually worked in her favor. So I'm not too upset with Miss Kathy. I applaud Miss Kathy, to be quite honest with you, because it was genius what she did, and it got her. We'll get to it, but so after this, so the person that Gary gave the rose to was Joan, right? He was very much so impressed with Joan. The one thing that I will say about Gary is I love the fact that with Gary, he when he talks to the ladies and they're uneasy or nervous about anything, he makes it so easy for them to talk to him, and he is a calming, soothing figure for them. So I do love that for Gary when it comes to the ladies. So Evita says she made a big issue out of what Teresa said. She made her cry, and that wasn't cool. Yeah, I didn't like the fact that she cried. I thought that was I felt bad for her. Excuse me, y'all. But I'll definitely discuss it as I get to it because I do feel like she made a mountain out of a molehill with that particular situation between she and Teresa. So yeah, we see Gary and we see him out on his date with Teresa, right? Not Teresa, but with Joan. So I'm getting the feeling that I think Joan is also a widower, right? I think she is. So they're talking about their dating lives after the loss of their spouses, right? And I think that a year is way too early to be trying to, especially after losing someone. I think a year is too soon to want to try to date again. I think, maybe you can go out there and you can go on dates and get to know someone, but to actually physically try to be in a relationship with someone a year after losing your spouse, I think that might be just a little bit on the too soon side. But let me know if you guys agree, disagree. But I know that these are people of a certain age, so they've already been down that road, so they know what they want and they know what they don't want. So I guess it's like I guess it could be like a kind of a catch-22, maybe not. I don't know. Evita also says I agree. Gary seems so easy to talk to. He gives you his undivided attention. He absolutely does, and I think that that is one. I think that is a very endearing quality for him, right? Um, I still don't necessarily know if I believe that Gary should be in a relationship after this. Granted, his wife passed away in 2017. Sometimes, but in this, I've noticed after the first episode, he doesn't cry as much about his wife, his late wife, right? Because on one of his days, he talked about his wife, and it was a very uplifting, and it was very happy, and it was so it wasn't sad. So I think maybe the spurts of him crying, you know, it comes and goes. It's not like he's doing this all day, every day. So yeah, at the end of his date with Joan, he presented Joan with the rose. I was like, okay, Miss Joan, you got the rose. You were nervous about even doing that. She was nervous about even doing the talent portion, but look at it. You did the talent portion, you got the date, and now you have the rose. So you're doing good, Miss Joan. So Vita also says, yes, if you've been married to a person half of your life and they pass away, you should take more than a year to heal. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because when they were talking about that, she said when Joan was talking about she dated after a year of her husband passing, but she feels like now at 2 years she's ready. And I will say I do think that maybe she was ready, but the circumstances in her life, because she talked about how, it was kind of hard for her to come here, but she did come nonetheless. And I think she was enjoying Gary, and I think she was enjoying this process with him. But there were some things back home that was just very pressing, right? Because she said that her daughter had just had a baby. And from how she was talking, it sounds like there was maybe some complications when the baby was born, maybe some health issues. I don't necessarily know. And she doesn't have to explain it at all. I don't. So when we get to now, here's the thing. I don't know how the Bachelor works because I know that there's a process. There's a show called After the Final Rose and The Women Tell All. Like I don't know what those are supposed to be. I don't know what those entail. If you guys know, please let me know. What is the Women Tell All? Like I know what it means. The Women Tell All. They just tell everything that happened throughout the season. So is that like the Bachelor's version of a reunion? And then after the final rose, is that where we just talk to the final, talk to the final, the whoever Gary chooses? I think I'm answering my own questions. I believe I'm answering my own questions. So after the final rose, that is probably just with Gary and who he picked, as well as who he didn't pick, right? And then the women tell all is just basically the reunion for them. I think I answered my own questions, but again, feel free to chime in the live chat and in the comment section below. But I think I answered my own questions. I think I did. But yeah, so when we get back to the ladies, she doesn't have. I don't need her to explain that because if it's her personal family business, then if it's personal family business, then it's fine. Definitely keep that to yourself. But I do extend prayers to and her daughter, right? So the next morning, we see as Gary is getting ready to head over to the house because he's getting ready to go on a date, right? And so when he's getting ready to go for the date, this is when we see Joan is on the phone with her daughter. So she got a very bad text message from her daughter. So again, we don't know what the text message is. And, she doesn't have to go into deep detail about what it was. But Joan feels that it's time for her to go home and be there for her daughter, right? So as she was leaving, Gary, approached, found her. She saw Gary as he was pulling up. And so she and Gary went and sat down and they had a conversation. And she told Gary that, the situation's at home, it's not a good one right now. And so she feels that it is best for her to go home. And, Gary did say that he was a little disappointed, but he absolutely understood why she was doing it. And I think that Gary was developing a stronger connection to Joan. And, he hated to see an end. But like I said, Gary was, very receptive of her leaving. And, he was like, he understood. And I appreciated that. So Evita says, I haven't watched too many seasons of The Bachelor or Bachelorette, but I believe the tell all is where they dish things that happened or were said behind the scenes. Okay. I thought that's what it was. Um, so yeah, so it's so interesting. She got the rose, but unfortunately she's going home. So now we're down to 11 women, right? So when Gary, like I told you guys, Gary had a date that he was getting ready to go on, right? So fashion designer Michael Costello came in and he came in to get one particular woman, and that lady was it was Miss Ellen, right? Yeah, it was Miss Ellen. So Miss Ellen is getting ready to go out on a date with Gary. And I will say the dress that Miss Ellen had on, it was beautiful. She looked amazing in her dress, right? So she and Gary, they went on their date, and then, they had a conversation. So she asked Gary to tell him about his wedding day. So Gary said he couldn't remember his wedding day. He said it was 50 years ago. And when you look at Gary, like even looking at this picture, right? I know this picture is probably touched up and photoshopped, probably, touched up a little bit. But Gary looks amazing for his age. Because what Gary is 72 years old, he looks amazing for a 72-year-old man. He looks great. Like if looking at this picture on my screen, Gary looks like he is, oh my God, if I had to guess Gary's age, I would never guess 72. I would honestly guess that he's probably in his somewhere in his like late 50s, maybe early. I'll actually say his 60s, somewhere in his 60s, maybe early to mid 60s. But he doesn't look 72 at all. But he, like I said, he looks great. And even the women look amazing. Evita says Ellen looked beautiful in those dresses. She did. So he also said that, he and his wife, that they didn't go on a honeymoon because they were flat broke, right? And he was like, when they would invite their parents to the house, the reason that they would be inviting their parents is because they would be anticipating them bringing food. I was like, oh, it's so sweet that, they had a love story. They didn't have a lot of money, but they made do with what they had. And I think that's very telling of who Gary is. I think it really is. So After that, he asked her about her relationship with her husband. I think she said she was married for 25 years. Like these people were married for quite some time. And I just, you think about that. It's like you get married to your partner and you think that is, you say your vows to death do us part, right? But you get to a certain age and it's like you know that's going to happen, but then I always wonder what it's like for a partner who outlives, like for a husband who outlives his wife, or a wife who outlives her husband. Like what is life like after that? Like I said before, you guys, my grandmother experienced that. She was a widow up until the day she passed away, and my grandfather, he had passed away years before I was even, he would pass away years before I was even born. So she was a widow from the time he passed away up until she passed away. And I think that that was at least a good 30 or 40 years, probably. Probably, I want to say 40 or maybe even 50. It was some years before she passed away after him. Avita says, I think he looks a bit over 60. Really? You would peg him for over 60? He looks like he's in his, like I said, maybe mid 60s, but he doesn't look 70. Not in this picture for sure. This picture doesn't scream 70 to me. Because when I think of someone who's 70, I just don't. I would be, you expect to see different. You wouldn't expect to see this man, and but again, he looks great for a 72-year-old man. Because he doesn't have, the thing is, he doesn't have a lot of gray hairs, except for his beard. Other than that, he doesn't have a lot of gray hairs. He doesn't have, any sagging skin or wrinkles. No shade or offense to anybody out there, but he just doesn't have that. He's done well for himself. He's kept himself up very well over the years. So where are we at? So after the date, you guys, we see Teresa. So Teresa was having a conversation with Kathy. Now, what I will say about the conversation with Teresa and Kathy, I don't necessarily think that Teresa was um I don't think it was the way that Kathy took it. I think she was just telling her like, "Hey, I have a great time with Gary. I think we have a great connection with Gary." But Kathy took it and Kathy took it and kind of ran with the narrative that it's like, oh, she was saying, oh, we have this great connection with each other. So it's only a matter of time before you go home. So pack your stuff up and go. But that's not necessarily what I got from Teresa at all. So Kathy became upset about that. And let's be honest, I think Kathy was putting 20 on 10 with that particular situation with Teresa. Again, I don't believe that Teresa was coming. It was the way it was perceived is the way that it was intended to come off, right? So at one point, the ladies were all sitting and they were talking because they were getting ready to have their one-on-ones with Gary before the rose ceremony. And April said, "If you whatever you're feeling, basically whatever you feeling, keep it to yourself." I was like, "Ouch, how rude!" And Teresa caught that straight, right? So she pulled April aside and she was like, "So why did you say that?" And so April was like, "Well, I said it in defense of Kathy." And I was like, "But were you privy to the conversation that Kathy and Teresa had previously?" Like, I think what's happening now, I can't remember. I think it might have been Faith who said this. I think what's happening at this point, I think it was Faith and I think it was Susan. I think that's her name. I think at this point, what's happening is the ladies are all having a connection with Gary. And Gary is just one man, but it's at this point 11 women. So now they're all trying to vie for his attention and his affection. And jealousy is coming into the play. People are feeling threatened by other people. I think that's what's going on. And I think that that's ultimately what happened with Teresa and with Kathy. I think Kathy is feeling a little bit of jealousy and a little bit of threat from Teresa. That's my opinions. So, Evita says exactly, just by saying she has a good connection with Gary, Didn't mean she was bragging. Kathy is reaching and I have no idea why April felt the need to be in the middle. Well, you said I have no idea why April felt the need to be the middleman. Yeah, I thought that was a little odd that April decided that she wanted to chime in. It was just a little odd to me that April told her basically to keep it to herself, right? So the ladies do talk to Gary, and this is where I said, whatever Kathy planned, because I don't know if she thought that her revealing this to Gary would get her a rose, but ultimately her she now mind you, she didn't even tell him who it was because she feels like I guess that Teresa's intentions are not pure when it comes to Gary. And I will say I didn't think that that was fair to say, but I'm glad that she didn't throw her under the bus because I do think that she has pure intentions. And like I said, I don't think that she deliberately was trying to say, "Hey, yeah, girl, I got a better connection with him than you." So yeah, it's probably time for you to pack your stuff up. I don't think that that's necessarily what Teresa meant. But I can't say how Kathy took it because Kathy took it one way and she ran with it. But like I said, the way that Kathy ran with it, it ultimately got her a rose. So she lives to see another week in the house. So you guys, after that, we then do get to the rose ceremony. And so we see who all got the roses. Like I said, we already know that Kathy got a rose. We already know that Joan got a rose, but Joan is gone. So ultimately, the two women that ended up leaving in this week was Christina and Edith. Edith. God, tongue twister. I did like Miss Edith. I will say that I actually did like Miss Edith. But we didn't see a whole lot of Miss Edith. So yeah, you guys, that was the Golden Bachelor. So let me know what you guys. So we are down now to what? So we had 12 women when the episode started, and so now we're down. We lost one, so we were at 11. So we're down to 9 women at this point. So we are rocking and rolling, you guys. But like I said, overall, I definitely enjoyed this episode. I'm enjoying this season. If they do season of the Golden Bachelor, I definitely will be watching. What I would like to see next is a Golden Bachelorette. Pretty sure that's probably in the works. Evita says, I feel Gary gave Kathy their rose because Joan left, to be honest. That's an interesting point. I don't know if I ever saw it that way. I honestly I feel like he gave her that rose because of how she was feeling about her interpretation of the things with Teresa. I felt like that's why he gave her that rose. But it sounds bad both ways you say it, because I mean it's technically sounded like he gave her a sympathy rose. Mm. All right. So yeah, you guys, that's all I got for this episode. Let me know what you guys thought in the comment section. You guys stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves. Wash your hands. Be blessed, you guys, and I will see you guys. So you guys, I know episode number 10 of The Love Is Blind is up on Netflix currently, so I'm gonna watch that one today, and then I will come to you guys live tomorrow with the review for episode 10. And then I know Sunday is the reunion, and I did see some of the reunion looks. Um, I did see some of the reunion looks. I loved Aaliyah's dress. Love Aaliyah's look. But yeah, you guys. With that, I'm gonna hop off of here, you guys. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and like I said, I will see you guys later. Yeah. So I gotta do so. Dang, I gotta do a live for the finale of Love Is Blind, and then live for the reunion. That'll probably be Monday afternoon. But yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next video. And Avita says yes, a sympathy rose. It absolutely was. And see you guys later. Bye, guys.